Okay, so I feel like we could probably rule out I don't know. I was about to say I guess we can maybe rule out Karen because I don't know. It's seeming like she's a bit less suspicious now. Like, but at the same time, there are some things she did that kind of make her that I feel like still make her a suspect to me. Reiji just pointing out she doesn't seem as concerned about all this. That is kind of weird. I didn't really think about that, but yeah, she seems a bit nonchalant about everything that's going on. But I don't know. At the same time, she didn't do anything that would that would make me think that it's definitely her. But I still hold to that theory. I'm not going to let that go until we have confirmed that it's definitely not her. But anyways, I guess hopefully we'll learn that soon because I'm very interested in who the culprit could be. I entered the office to find Masaki asleep on the couch. Hey, wake up. Huh? Oh, good morning. Masaki puts away his blanket when he gets up. I want to hear about yesterday. Sure. Looks like the guy's half asleep. Go wash your face. It'll be nice and cold and wake you right up. I suppose so. Masaki grabs a washcloth and heads into the kitchenette. I can't really talk to him when he's groggy like this. Man, it's cold. Masaki returns, wiping his face. You awake now? Yes, thanks. Then hurry up and tell me about yesterday. About my meeting with Rokushiki, you mean? What else would I want to know? It was kind of all over the place, and I'm not sure whether or not I'll be able to make sense of it, but... First things first, were you able to talk with him? Huh? Yes, quite normally, though I suppose you wouldn't call a conversation with him normal. So he's definitely choosing who he speaks to. I guess I was right to send this guy. Firstly, it sounds like it's true that the Kuchiki Hospital was using Hinagami Pharmaceuticals' psychoactive drugs. Anything else? Also, he said that Hinagami Pharmaceuticals' development of psychoactive drugs has been remarkably fast in recent years. He made it sound like there was something behind that, but... Recent years, huh? Is methamphetamine included in psychoactive drugs? That's a stimulant. You used it during the war too, didn't you? Then it was banned because there were so many addicts after the war. Well, regardless, if something happened, that's a possibility. War speeds the development of a lot of things. I guess I've heard things to that effect before. Airplanes, for instance. The Wright brothers flew in the sky at the beginning of the century. Then 10 years later, planes were already being used for reconnaissance in the First World War. They say things were peaceful in those early days. Enemy pilots would meet in the sky and wave to each other. I have to wonder if that's actually true. But when they started being used as weapons, they dropped rocks from the sky, attached machine guns and carry bombs, and their performance improved rapidly. By the Second World War, they were the stars of the conflict, and there were even jet engines being used in the place of propellers by the end of the war. There were plenty of medical advancements in the war too. With all those injured people lying around, there was plenty of material to experiment on. You mean human subject research? I'd say that's a pretty likely possibility. There were plenty of locations with vague official purposes but incredibly bad reputations like the Army's Epidemic Prevention Department. Hinagami Pharmaceuticals' Tokyo office is right next to the General Staff headquarters in Ichigaya. Yes, I believe they've done business. If they're involved, civilians like us aren't going to get far investigating them. Guess I'd have to bring this up with Yaginuma or someone. Next, did you ask about Shirosaki Michiro? Yes, he said that she doesn't have any developmental disorders, but that she's been mentally ill since her time in a Blessed Congregation orphanage. The Blessed Congregation? Yes, I guess some of her family members in the Shirosaki family are members. If she was in an orphanage, does that mean she was adopted? He said she was taken in by the Shirosaki family when the orphanage closed down, but her illness worsened there. What does that have to do with her disappearance? And who did she make a promise to? Also, she lost her left eye while she was in the orphanage. He didn't say so outright, but that's the impression I got from our conversation. So it wasn't an injury from abuse after she was adopted. But that's not important right now. The Blessed Congregation really must be involved. I'm surprised you got that much out of him, though. So am I. Did he say anything weird to you? Weird? Masaki cocks his head. He has a habit of feeding his patients weird ideas. There are a number of incidents that have occurred because of it. I'm sure he'd deny it, naturally, and it's not like there's any proof. I don't think there was anything like that. He did ask if I wanted to resume treatment, but I turned him down. Well, that's good. If he got serious, I bet he'd suck you into treatment again even if you declined. For now, I'll just have to believe that it didn't happen. Did you find anything out, Tokisaka-san? This time, Masaki turns the conversation to me. Not really anything I could tell you. I probably shouldn't tell him about my conversation with Hinagami Karen yet. Did you figure out who might be targeted next? No, not yet. I take the piece of paper I got from Shizuru out from between the pages of my notebook. The last person, Yoshino Midori. It's most likely not the name of the candidate, but her mother. 3 out of 5 candidates are listed by their mother's names. I guess the first two, Futami Yu and Takamiya Meguri, were easy to find, since they lived in the same settlement. Then the 3 whose mothers' names are written. I wonder if the parents got together to decide things. Usually, these kind of arranged marriages are organized by the parents. What a pain, Masaki mutters, fed up. May I see that paper? Sure, here. I turn the paper toward Masaki. His handwriting really is terrible. He's your dad, isn't he? Even I can write better than this. You can't even tell if it says you or Yuka. Yeah, exactly. You can't mean Yuka-san was murdered because someone read this wrong. We can't know that unless we ask the culprit. If that's true, though, it narrows the suspects down to people who would have been able to see this note. Shizuru said he hadn't shown it to anyone but Hideyomi, but since it's written down like this, anyone would have been able to see it, really. I'll start seriously looking into this. And who else works with Shizuru? Karen, of course. That just makes her even more suspicious. I mean, that was another thing I was thinking about too, because it's like she would have been able to see that, obviously. She works with him and, he's her dad. The fact that no new victims have surfaced means that the culprit hasn't figured out who this last person is either. Or so I'd like to think. I can't leave this to Misaki. Then I'll keep looking into the Blessed Congregation. It's starting to look like they're not involved in this incident. I'll finish what I've started. Whatever they're up to, there are a lot of related people involved in it. Yeah, I feel like they're definitely involved to some extent. Come to think of it, have you talked to Toji at all? She's investigating the Blessed Congregation too, so she might have some new information by now. Her. Alright. What? You don't like Toji? Don't you think she's scary? I won't say so out loud, but I do agree. Since I'm more scared of her finding out if I did say it out loud. Yeah, then she just suddenly appears. She's like, I heard you were talking shit. Masaki gets out of the train at Ueno Station, passing through the ticket gate and arriving in the plaza outside of the station. It's crowded as usual, but just as always, there's one open space among the hustle and bustle. It's the perfect sort of place for meeting people, but there's more than a little bad mojo emanating from the food stand there. Oh, not this guy again. Masaki waits for his appointment to show up, trying not to make eye contact with the old man. Not buying, kiddo? The old man says to him. I'm just waiting for someone, so... Masaki answers reluctantly, fearful of what might happen if he continues to ignore the man. This ain't a meeting place, it's my turf. It certainly is like the territory of some carnivorous beast, seeing as no one enters this area. He can't imagine there's any sort of point to turf where not only there are no other food stands, but no customers either. No, that's got to have only a negative effect. This is my recommendation right now. Masaki takes a glance at the old man's stand. A flyer for 7-herb yaki flaps in the wind. There's a custom in Japan of eating 7-herb rice porridge on January 7th. Oh, and guess what today is? I've got some ready and waiting already, so you don't need to pay. Man, he's giving us free food. I wouldn't pass that down. The old man pours batter onto the griddle without waiting for Masaki's reply. The batter is green. There probably really are 7 herbs in there. Masaki imagines it's probably better not to worry about how it'll taste. Here, have some. The dish has 3 takoyaki 7-herb yaki on it. They're steaming hot and don't look half bad. They smell a little grassy, but... Did you sample them, sir? Of course I did. Couldn't very well sell them if I hadn't now, could I? Then they're probably safe. Masaki thinks, tossing a 7-herb yaki into his mouth. He was a little concerned about the heat and the scent, but the radish and turnip inside substituting for octopus are pretty good. This could sell, Masaki mumbles honestly. They're not particularly good or bad per se, but they're certainly edible. Isn't that like how most of his food is? It's like it's not good or bad, it's just edible. I don't need your pity. I made them so I know they'll sell. So he says, but Masaki hasn't seen him sell much of anything. I'll throw in some more if you like them that much. The old man pours more 7-herb-filled batter onto the griddle. No, I'm just waiting for someone, so... He doesn't really want to eat too many more. What, you saying you don't want them? The old man raises his head. That's not it. Masaki hurriedly shakes his head when he's struck by the old man's penetrating glare. Then take some. There's no reason for refusal. The batter sizzles. Sympathy for me. Now he's humming. Thanks for the wait. He thrusts out carefully wrapped 7-herb yaki to Masaki. How much? Masaki asks, taking out his wallet. He feels too guilty receiving these for free. No charge. I said that already, didn't I? And kid, you were the one who said they'd sell. I'll get your fee for my customers. Uh-huh. He's starting to regret saying that a little. Sorry, did you wait long? Toji arrived soon after. No, not really. I was buying a souvenir anyway. I see. My office is just nearby. Let's talk there. Toji walks off, so Masaki follows. I was in Zushi until this morning. I've got some dried whitebait you can take with you when you leave. Sure. Sitting in a chair, Masaki takes out the 7-herb yaki he just bought. Help yourself. I just bought these. Just leave them there. Alright, you're here about the Blessed Congregation? Toji sits down, files in hand. Yes, do you have any data on an orphanage they managed? An orphanage? This? There are records of an orphanage called the White Lily Garden being established in 1929 or 30. Oh, wait a minute. Isn't that where Satsuki's mom works? Or is that somewhere else? I'm not sure. And then I think the Naori's dad also said that Naori worked there too, so... Yeah, he's definitely connected to this too. He worked in that orphanage. Okay, no, that's right. She worked at a daycare center, not an orphanage. I don't know why I'm getting that confused. That's about when the Congregation of the Blessed was founded. The director of the orphanage was a woman named Tsunohara Wakaba. It was that long ago? Even a shady religious organization will look legit if they're taking in orphans. I'm sure there was a different reason for establishing the orphanage though. Such as? This happens a lot in underground organizations. If you take in kids with no relatives and train them, you've got an efficient way to produce loyal soldiers for the organization. They couldn't have. In an organization like that, training them wouldn't be hard, and this White Lily Garden's second in command was Utsugi Keigo. The same Utsugi in the Blessed Congregation now? That's right, he was very skilled at management. If he were in charge of the orphanage's finances, it would have benefited the whole congregation of the Blessed as well. Do you mean the White Lily Garden was making money somehow? I don't know. I can't think of many ways to make money off of an orphanage. They'd be too young for labor, really. Toji flips through the documents. When the original founder died and the organization became Senri, the White Lily Garden remained under their management. They didn't have much to do with their primary functions though, so it looks like they were largely ignored. I'm guessing the leaders of Senri weren't informed about how they were making money there. Then those two who kept on managing it? Can we talk to the Tsunohara-san who ran the orphanage? We can't do that. Is she still a member? No, Tsunohara Wakaba committed suicide in 1951. Suicide? Senri wasn't around anymore in 1951, were they? Is that why, though? The reason was something else entirely. In that year, there was apparently a group suicide at the White Lily Garden. The director felt responsible, and also died, or so I hear. A group suicide? What on earth happened? The documents list the cause as protest to repeated abuse at the time. There's no evidence to that effect, but it's probably true. So the White Lily Garden closed, but to protect the livelihoods of the Blessed Congregation's members, this time they created a daycare center. Oh shit, oh no, the daycare center is related! And that's the New Leaf Garden in Koganai. Oh shit, so yeah, I was right, it is related. It was called New Leaf Garden. That's why I was getting confused. New Leaf Garden. The Blessed Congregation doesn't appear to be too involved with this one. They simply fund it. They have non-members' children there, and it's not officially affiliated with the congregation. What about the staff? I compared them to the list of members the police has and found some names. I'm not sure how heavily involved they are, though. Is Kaihara Fuyumi-san a member? How do you know that name? Well, whatever. Her name was on the list. She's the primary manager of the New Leaf Garden. She's probably trusted within the organization? I see. He didn't think she was a member, too. That's about all I know on the Blessed Congregation Orphanage. So, she's also a member of the congregation. Plot twist. I didn't see that one coming. Honestly, I didn't. Toji tidies up the documents. Thank you. Oh, and tell Tokasaka there's been no progress on the sheep affair. Sheep? Masaki cocks his head, unfamiliar with the subject. He'll understand if you tell him that. Looks like Toji doesn't intend to explain it to him. I see. He must be working on cases Masaki doesn't know about as well. Well then, I'll excuse myself. Well, we kind of learned something from that. Apparently, Fuyumi is supposedly a member of the congregation. Although I wonder if she's up to anything nefarious, like if she has any sort of ulterior motives for even, adopting, for even adopting Yukiko in the first place. Classes end, and Yukari heads to the art room. She went straight home yesterday, so these are her first club activities after classes started up again. Yukiko, who had come shortly before Yukari, is sitting in a chair, staring out absent-mindedly. Kaihara-san? Huh? Oh. She turns toward Yukari and blushes faintly. Is something the matter? No, it's nothing. Yukiko averts her gaze and gets out her art supplies. How did it go yesterday at the hospital? Yukari asks, despite knowing it's none of her business. Good. I got some medicine and slept really well, I think. So I'm fine. I see. It still looks like Yukiko has a bit of a fever and isn't focusing very well. Please don't push yourself, okay? Yeah, thanks. Yukiko nods and faces her canvas. Yukari takes out her own painting supplies after watching her. Oh, she exclaims when she sees the painting knife in her supplies. I'm sorry, Kaihara-san. Huh? I forgot about the knife I borrowed from you at the end of the year. She'd wiped it off once after she used it, but it still has a little bit of dried paint stuck to it. No, it's fine. I haven't used it yet or anything. I'm sorry, I'll wash it right now. She soaks a cloth in some cleaning kerosene and wipes off the knife. The cloth is stained red. The color reminds her of last month. Painting knives don't have blades, so it couldn't cut anyone, but... Here, thank you. She returns the knife to Yukiko after wiping off the paint. Tokasaka-san, you said you'd teach me how to use this before. Yes, I did, didn't I? She looks at the canvas Yukiko's facing. She's still in the middle of sketching on it with a pencil. She's not at the painting stage yet. Could you come over here? Yukari opts to use her own canvas and beckons Yukiko over to it. You use knives for oil painting, when you want to mix paint and when you want to paint over big sections. Yukari scoops up some paint on the rounded tip of the painting knife and applies it to the edge of her canvas. You spread the paint like this. I can't do it very well yet, but it all goes on uniformly, so it feels a bit different than a brush. Wow. Yukiko nods again and again, looking impressed. I think it's just one of those things you learn with experience. I suppose so. Yukiko puts the painting knife into her bag. I'll continue sketching for now. Sure. And the art club activities continue on as normal, I see. After walking a short distance from Musashi Kogane Station, Masaki arrives at the New Leaf Garden. It's his first time visiting here. First, he examines the daycare center from outside. It looks like all the children are inside the building, presumably because it's too cold outside. The windows are fogged up due to the temperature difference between inside and outside, so he can't see inside at all. When Masaki tries to glance in, it strikes him. He must look pretty suspicious. Masaki decides to pay the New Leaf Garden a proper visit. Oh, that's right. Masaki-san. Sorry to visit so suddenly. He greets Fuyumi when she comes out to receive him. Something the matter? Why come all the way here? There are just a few things I'd like to ask you. For your detective work? Well, I suppose so. Masaki answers honestly. Then do you mind giving me a hand? Huh? Masaki's dragged into the daycare center, having no idea what's going on. Could you fold the blankets up scattered over there and put them here? The wet ones go here instead. Sure. I didn't agree to this. There do appear to be blankets all over the room. It's like you came here to ask questions and you end up getting roped into helping her out with daycare work. The children must have been using them. Masaki starts folding blankets, not quite satisfied with this turn of events. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be either. Since they're for children, they're less than half the size of regular blankets, so they're easy to fold up. However, it's harder to find ones not wet with drool or urine than otherwise. Even so, Masaki divides the blankets up like he was instructed. How's this, Kayahara-san? Yeah, could you bring this out to the washing room and back then? Fuyumi hands Masaki a huge pile of linens. Gah! He turns his face away at the smell. There's an electric washing machine in back, so just toss them in there, okay? With that, Fuyumi walks into another room. Having no choice, Masaki tries to endure the smell, getting a better grip on the linens and peeking into the laundry room and back. There's a large white metal box. There's a bellows hose attached to it, so it must be the electric washing machine. Not knowing how to use it, he simply opens the lid on top and throws the linens inside, returning to the other room. Masaki begins to consider that it could take any amount of time before he's able to ask any questions when... Masaki-kun, can you hold her? Fuyumi suddenly appears and hands Masaki a baby. Wait a... Masaki can do nothing when the baby starts crying. Masaki rocks the baby and holds her up high to try to get her to stop crying, but nothing works. Her crying only grows more shrill until he has no idea what to do. Ah, shucks, looks like it was no good. What was no good? He asks, handing the baby back to Fuyumi. The Tokisakas were good at getting this one to stop crying. I'm not him, you know. I guess not. Fuyumi smiles and rocks the baby, soothing her. Looks like Papa didn't cut it. He couldn't get you to stop crying, could he? Who the heck's Papa? What, you don't like it? That's not it, but, could I ask you those questions? Sure, just give me one more second. When the baby stops crying, she lays her down in her cradle and soothes her to sleep. This one's definitely our biggest troublemaker. Is she an orphan? Well, she does sort of have a guardian. She helps out here too sometimes, but her other job is pretty busy, I guess. Do you know anything about the White Lily Garden, Kayahara-san? White Lily Garden? Nope, nothing. After a moment of consideration, Fuyumi shakes her head. It seems like it was the predecessor to the New Leaf Garden, an orphanage. Ah, was that what it was called? Fuyumi nods, still tilting her head. When did you start working here at the New Leaf Garden, Kayahara-san? It's been 4 years now, I guess. I was helping out at another daycare before that, but then I was invited to run this place. You know the religious group that manages this place, the Blessed Congregation, right? Yes, I'm familiar. They were just in the newspaper, weren't they? Are you a member? The group's taking care of me, but unfortunately, I'm not really the pious type. I've never been good with those kinds of things. I see. Masaki's relieved. I do feel indebted to them, though. I mean, they gave me my job here. So, since you started working here after it was established, you don't know anything about the White Lily Garden? All I know is that they managed an orphanage before this. If you want to know more, maybe you should talk to Itsugi-san in the congregation. It's still too early to march up to one of the organization's leaders. Masaki bets Tokisaka or Toji's judgment would be needed before getting in contact with the actual Blessed Congregation. Are there any records here about back then? I can't say I've ever seen any. All the documents here are from the New Leaf Garden. That sort of stuff would probably be with the congregation. I suppose so. Then you don't know anything about what happened to the kids in the orphanage after that either, right? I think most of them were adopted and split up. I couldn't tell you where they are now. So where did she adopt Yukiko from? Because Yukiko, in her dreams, basically said she was an orphan. She had an orphanage. Like, was it that orphanage? Like, I kind of want to know that. Like, where'd she adopt Yukiko from, if not that orphanage? Was the White Lily Garden here? No, I think it was over in Hachioji, maybe somewhere called Kasumi Village. Do you know the specific location? No, I don't have the address or anything. I think there was a church a little into the mountains. Oh, wait, is it the same church we visited in the first game? The one where Stella's at? Kasumi Village, right? Okay. You'll have to thoroughly explore the area. Sorry I couldn't be of more help. No, that was plenty help. I probably shouldn't actually be telling you this stuff, Fuyumi mutters. Because of your debt to the Blessed Congregation? Yes. Couldn't you call that piety? I don't think so. I don't believe in God, so... Oh, she's a dirty atheist. Heathen. Non-believer. Burn her at the stake. Fuyumi shakes her head. Masaki assumes there must be a reason for her to deny it so fervently, but it's nothing he can ask about. Well, I don't know. I still think Fuyumi's at least a little bit suspicious. Like, I can't deny that she's not involved to some extent. If she is, I would be a little bit surprised, but I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. Like, I have so many suspicions, and I'm just waiting for them to be confirmed. I return to Shinjuku in the evening after I finish a few errands. I should take a little walk before I head home. Oh boy, where to now? Where to now? Seems like we're going back to the Kuchiki Hospital yet again. I've come to the Kuchiki Hospital. Outpatient care is already over, so there aren't many people here. I head to the edge of the parking lot, gazing at the snow-covered ground. Masaki said there was a truck parked here when Michiro disappeared. There are no traces of it now, 2 days later, of course. The two thugs I saw in the Nissan Austin a day earlier, I should have gotten a better look at their faces. Since they were wearing suits, I could assume they weren't from the Blessed Congregation, but they probably wouldn't go out of their way to wear easily identifiable clothes when kidnapping someone, would they? But what reason could they have had to abduct her? From a cursory investigation, we found that Michiro's parents are members of the Blessed Congregation, but they didn't appear to be overly passionate, they were merely laity. That must mean that her origins are important, but if this has to do with her real parents, I can't really do anything about it at the moment. Hopefully Masaki can find something in his investigation. I enter the building. Nanako's at the reception desk. Oh, Tokasaka-san. Hello, Sawashiro-san. How's Shirosaki-san? She's just taken some medicine. She's sleeping now. I see. Guess I can't talk to her then. Though it's not like I could really talk to her if she were awake either. Yeah, good point. What kind of medicine was she given? Just a light sedative. She hasn't been sleeping well lately. Was it a Hinagami Pharmaceuticals drug? I believe so, but why do you ask? No reason, really. I wonder if you have a lot of business with them because they're related to the director. Could be. She must not be too involved, since she doesn't seem to know for sure. I wonder if Kanen's the key to the connection between the Kuchiki Hospital and Hinagami Pharmaceuticals. There's probably no point in bugging Nanako about it. Do you know if the Kuchiki Hospital has been involved at all in their production of new drugs? No, I have no idea. I figured as much. Sorry about that, I was just curious. Please tell Shirosaki-san I said hello when she wakes up. Sure. I part with Nanako and head outside. I'll have to come at the connection between Hinagami Pharmaceuticals and the Kuchiki Hospital from another direction. Night falls and Masaki sits at the desk in the office. A map of Tokyo lies in front of him. He found one from some years ago in Jinbocho. It's for the purpose of looking for the White Lily Garden in the area Fuyumi told him about. The Tama region has been merging villages and towns a lot in recent years, and he's not even sure the location she told him about still exists today. Kasumi village appears to be in the northern part of South Tama, just north of Hachioji City. It's a village just south of where the Yaki River meets the Tama River, nestled in hills beside the confluence. He looks closely at the map, trying to find a building that's labeled something similar to White Lily Garden. And there it is, almost disappointingly easy to find. The name is written next to a building sitting right in the middle of the mountains. So this is the White Lily Garden. The Higashi Akido station on the JNR Itsukaichi line would probably take him closest, or should he take the Cho main line to Hachioji station and take a bus? Deciding to get as close as he can, then walk since he doesn't have much money, Masaki folds up the map. He has no idea what he'll find at a facility that's already shut down, but Masaki feels like he has to go and see now that he's heard about it. Maybe we'll actually make some headway. Once we, actually find where the White Lily Garden was. Yukari comes and looks at me curiously, in her uniform while I'm sitting on a chair in the living room and staring into space. What is it? It's rare for you to be awake this early, Nissan. Guess I just felt like it. I went to bed at the same time as usual last night, but for some reason I woke up awfully early this morning. Was your room too cold? That's probably part of it. Could you make me some coffee? I'm sorry, we're out of coffee beans, unfortunately. Is tea alright? Yeah, thanks. Yukari enters the kitchen. Guess I'll go to Moon World and score some later. I'm worried about Kyoko too. If you go to see Kyoko-san, could you buy the usual ones? Yukari returns with a small teapot and a cup. I was just thinking that. I'll leave it to you then. Yukari pours me a cup of tea. The phone starts ringing. Oh. It's fine. I got it. I stop Yukari, who's about to stand up while still holding a teapot, and head over to the phone. Hello, Tokisaki residence. Good morning. Sorry to call so early in the morning, but this is Sawashiro at the Kuchiki Hospital. It's Nanako. Her tone sounds a bit tense. Good morning. Did something happen? Well, please remain calm, but Hazuki-san was brought here with a stab wound. Oh, shit. Sounds like things did get worse. Huh? For a moment, I have no idea what she just said. Her injuries are not life-threatening, so please don't worry. She didn't want me to inform you, but I thought I had to. Nanako's voice isn't really reaching my brain. I barely managed to take in the non-life-threatening part. At any rate, she'll be alright. She's still in a little bit of emotional shock, so you won't be able to visit her quite yet. I slowly take in the information. I think I'll still come to talk to you about this later. I turn my face away from Yukari, who's studying me worriedly. I understand. I'll be here. I set the receiver down feebly. What happened? Yukari asks immediately. No, I'll tell you when I get back. You have class to go to, don't you? But... I don't think I can explain it very well right now. Please. Okay. Yukari's got to be like the most understanding character I think I've ever seen. Like, she's just... I mean, like, she seems to be very, like, you know, very perceptive of a lot of things, and, you know, doesn't like, you know, get annoying about things. You know, like, if she doesn't know about something, she doesn't pester somebody about it or anything like that. And she's just very helpful in general. Like, she helps her brother out. She cooks for her brother. It's like, holy Christ. she's probably like the most... the best sister somebody could ask for. It's like she's almost like his wife in a way, which is a weird thing to think about too. But Yukari picks up her bag and heads for the front door. Yukari, I'll get the coffee beans later. All right. Yukari's breath hitches for a moment, but she quickly leaves the living room. I let out a heavy sigh. I knew this was a possibility, but why? I can't get too emotional right now. I need to remain calm. Nanako said her life was in no danger. If she's in the hospital, there's probably no need to worry. My job is finding the culprit. That's all a detective can do. So I guess Reiji's going to be preoccupied investigating the loan sharks that, you know, stabbed her, and then Masaki will probably be trying to find the White Leaf Garden. Since she left earlier than usual, Yukari sits by herself in the classroom, gazing out the window. What was that phone call this morning about? She can only imagine. All she can imagine, however, are bad things. From her brother's parting words, she can tell one thing. Something's happened to Kyoko. Man, she is really perceptive. That's all she can infer from those words. Her brother's attitude earlier, it was the same as 8 years ago prior, when his fiancée was killed, and 2 years ago when Yukari's friend was hit by a car. She closes her eyes and puts her hands together, entwining her fingers. Though Yukari commutes to this Christian school, she's never given religious faith much thought before. But now, she prays. She prays that no one else precious to her brother is taken away. Well, you must have forgotten what kind of game this is. Huh? You're here early, Yukarichi. The classroom door opens and Kohane enters. Good morning. You're early too, Kohane. Yukari tries to act like she usually does so that her friend doesn't pick up on her inner turmoil. I'm usually here about now. There's nothing to do at home in the morning anyway. You don't sleep in? I never get tired again once I'm already awake, not for a few hours at least. So that's why you sleep in class so often. Yep. People gradually enter the classroom as she's talking to Kohane. Yukiko is among them. Morning, Yukiko-chan. Oh, morning. Yukiko sits down at her seat, rubbing sleepy eyes. You look tired, Yukiko-chan. Yeah, I thought I slept a lot though. Yukiko says with a little yawn. I got some new medicine, so it might be because of that. But that's good though, right? Since you haven't been able to sleep much lately. Probably. Yukiko puts her head down on her desk. Does medicine really make you sleep that much? I don't know. Yukari's a little worried too. Yeah, that medicine's probably not having the intended effect. Yukiko sits unmoving, her head on her desk. The bell rings. Yukari and Kohane return to their seats. Yukiko doesn't move until their teacher enters the room. Yeah, that's a bit concerning. I feel like the medicine is doing something to Yukiko. I get out of my car and fly into the hospital. I've been trying to stay calm, but now that I'm here, I can't help but get impatient. I weave through the outpatients to get to the reception desk. Excuse me, where can I find Sawashiro-san? I ask the nurse at the reception desk. You must be Tokisaka-sama. Could you wait in the reception room in the back? I quickly head to the room the nurse indicates. No one's in the reception room. I sit down on a couch and wait for Nanako to arrive. I can't help tapping my foot impatiently if I don't consciously stop myself. I hold down my knee, but my heel keeps tapping at the floor. Sorry for the wait. The door opens and Nanako enters. How's Kyoko? Please calm down. Her life is not in danger, like I told you earlier. She just needs to rest for now. I know that. Could you tell me what happened, if you know that is? Hazuki-san called us herself. She was conscious at the time, so we were able to ask her a few questions, but... But what? She didn't seem to have many details. I think her memory was a little jumbled from shock, but... Just tell me what you know. Sure. It was around 9 last night when she called. Like I said earlier, she called herself. We were able to get her to the hospital pretty quickly and stitched up the wound, but it was deeper than we anticipated, and it would have hit her organs if it had been just a bit deeper. Where was she stabbed? In her side, almost near her back. Nanako twists, pointing to her own side. What did she tell you about when it happened? Well, she said she didn't remember, not even whether there were customers there at the time. Nothing. That's odd. Now that it's clear to me that she's not in any danger and I'm calm, this vague doubt is bothering me. The doctor who sewed up the wound should be here soon. She can tell you more about it. Who might that be? A doctor from outside who said she'd like to participate when I told her I was going to explain things to you. The door to the reception room opens at that very instant. Oh no, not her. She's not a doctor. She's not a doctor. You're like you just do autopsies on people. Top of the morning to you. What are you doing here, Natsume-san? I just happened to be here yesterday, so when an emergency case came in that looked like it might be crime-related, I sewed her on up. Did you figure anything out? I asked Natsume-san after recovering from the initial shock. She didn't really say nothing, so I'll just tell you what I learned from the wound. But, one sec. Ah! Natsume-san suddenly grabs Nanako's breasts. Oh my god. What are you doing? Hazuki-han, was it? She's hauling some huge honkers. Did you make him that way, Tokisaka-han? Can't say I did. No? I thought for sure you did. Would you mind letting me go, please? Poor Nanako's breasts have been taken hostage by Natsume-san. Just a sec, I'll show you where she was poked. I don't know how Natsume doesn't get fined for sexual harassment. Natsume-san says, stroking Nanako's side with her fingers. Ugh! Oh my, so sensitive. Anyhow, she was stabbed right here, from behind. Natsume-san indicates the area Nanako pointed at earlier. I imagined it was jammed in from below. In other words, somewhere where it'd be difficult for her to have stabbed herself. Were you considering a self-inflicted injury? Well, since she won't say who stabbed her and all, you could infer that much. Couldn't you, Tokisaka-han? Well, I suppose so. If this were a normal incident, I'd probably suspect that it was all an act. I had abandoned the idea too soon because the victim was Kyoko. So anyhow, she was skewered with a pretty small knife, like thing. It was a thin, flat blade about 5 centimeters long, I wager. Sounds pretty vague. Well, we didn't find the weapon at the scene or anything, so I can't say for sure, but I don't think it was a knife. You said it was a thin blade, right? It's not like she was stabbed with a drill or a pick then. She'd be able to tell right away from the wound. We got a scrap of Hazuki-san's shirt here when we cut off the part where she was stabbed. Natsume-san shows me a scrap of cloth inside some clear vinyl. In the middle of the cloth, dyed red with Kyoko's blood, is a cut about 2 centimeters wide. You see it, yeah? The part that's stabbed, the thread's all frayed, right? Looks like. It's hard to tell with all the blood, but the cut seems rougher than it should be from a normal blade. Her body was the same. It looked like a stab wound, but it was more like a puncture wound. She was stabbed, but not cut, with the bladed thingy anyway. Like some kind of thin plate? If it was something like that, it could cut through cloth and flesh even without a blade. That's what I'm thinking. There were bits of cloth deep in the wound too, though it didn't strike any major arteries, so it didn't end up being too serious. If the weapon wasn't a knife, it could rule out the sort of people who swing them around as suspects. The debt collector thugs probably carry around knives. Yeah, that was my immediate thought, was that it was the debt collectors. If it's not them, then who the hell would have tried to stab her? Or that's what the culprit wants you to think. Though there's probably no point in finding the culprit. Do you think she's protecting the culprit? That question's no good, Tokisaka-han. That'd mean it's most likely someone close to her that's the culprit, like you. I know. I thought for sure you stabbed her in a blind rage after some relationship complications, Tokisaka-han. Why would you come to that conclusion? Oh, I know, Tokisaka-han. You stabbed her with something else. Oh my god. This fucking woman, can she just go away? What hurts most is that I can't really deny that. Yeah. Anyhow, let's leave the jokes at that. Natsume-san puts away the scrap of cloth that's evidence. Since she said not to tell you, she must have really not wanted you to know about this. If that's all it is, fine. But Sawashiro-san, could you ask if it's alright for me to talk to her? Sure, I don't mind. Let me go check. Nanako leaves the reception room. She sure is important to you, huh? Of course she is. I lean back onto the couch and relax. I don't want to lose anyone else important to me. I suppose you're right. It's a dang shame about Uzumi-han. Hey, don't go killing off Oizumi. Yeah, he kind of disappeared himself, though, so he wrote himself out of this game. Classes end and Yukari picks up her bag, heading into the hallway. Wait, Tokisaka-san. Yukiko follows Yukari out of the classroom. Headed to club? Yes, I was heading that way. Then I'll go too. Oh, but could you head there first? I don't mind. She wonders if Yukiko has somewhere else she needs to go first. Yukari ponders the thought while Yukiko walks off down the hallway. Yukiko's acting sort of strange, though Yukari can't quite explain how. Yukiko enters the room soon after Yukari. Oh, what's that? Yukari tilts her head when she notices what Yukiko's holding. I borrowed it from the staff room. I wanted to try to use it. Yukiko puts the dripper she's carrying on a cup and takes out some coffee beans from her bag. Do you take sugar, Tokisaka-san? Yes, just a little. I don't think it's cooled yet. Oh, wait. She's drinking coffee. She's still tired. She's sleeping. So, I feel like she doesn't, like, she said she was having trouble sleeping and all that, but, like, what if she now doesn't want to go to sleep because of the dreams? So maybe that's why she's drinking this coffee. She pours water from a small kettle onto the coffee beans in the dripper. The rich smell of coffee fills the room. The room's usually filled with the stinging scent of paint, so it's an awfully strange sensation. Here you are. She sets down a cup in front of Yukari. Thank you. She scoops up some sugar from the small pot that was also handed to her and puts it in her cup. After stirring it a little with a different spoon, she brings it to her lips. How is it? Yukiko asks timidly. You might want to steam it a little more and pour the water a little slower, I think. Yukari responds honestly, thinking it tastes a little weak overall. I see. Thank you, Tokisaka-san. I didn't think it would go too well on my first try. Yukiko gives her a wry smile. You should try boiling water at home in your kitchen, and maybe ask Kyoko-san for... Yukari stops when she remembers what happened this morning. What's wrong? No, it's nothing. The door opens and Ayumu enters. Sato-san? Hello, Kaihara-senpai. Someone's out by the gate looking for you. Huh? For me? Yes, there's a squeaky clean black car and some people wearing white clothes. Oh boy, well we already know who those are. Huh? Yukiko gasps. I told them you might have gone home already, but would you like me to get a teacher and ask them to leave? No, it's fine. I appreciate your concern. Yukiko starts cleaning up the supplies she'd taken out. Oh, I'm sorry, Tokisaka-san, but could you return this kettle to the vice principal? I don't mind, but are you going somewhere? Yes, just for a bit. This must have to do with the Holy Prophet thing. Yukiko says evasively, picking up her bag. I'm sorry. Goodbye. I wonder if something happened. I don't know. But Yukari felt that Yukiko was acting strange in some way. Sato-san, you said there was a car by the gate. Yes, it stands out, so you should notice it right away. I think you can still catch up with her. Sensing Yukari's intentions, Ayumu backs up a step and opens the door for her. Thank you. She heads out into the hallway. Yukiko's already out of sight. In any case, she'll have to head outside. Yukari stops when she's able to see the gate. Far off from the front of the academy, Yukiko is getting into a black car. Gaihara-san. Her voice doesn't reach her from this distance, of course. A man in bright white clothing closes the rear door. She thinks she may have made eye contact with Yukiko. The car takes off and is out of Yukari's sight in no time. I wonder what that was all about, Ayamo mutters, having followed Yukari. I don't know. It didn't look like her family. Did you hear anything from them? No, they seemed really suspicious to me, though. That's just my personal opinion, of course. I see. In that second when they made eye contact, Yukiko seemed to want to say something. It's probably nothing like a kidnapping, but perhaps she should speak to her brother about this. Tori-senpai. Aimu pulls Yukari's sleeve. When Yukari looks in the direction of Aimu's pointing, she sees Kohane standing still, looking in the direction Yukiko disappeared into. Kohane? Oh, Yukari-chi. Kohane walks over when she notices the two of them. Did something happen? Well, someone came to get Kaihara-san. Then, that was really... Do you know anything about this? No, nothing. I don't know. I feel like she knows something. Kohane shakes her head, but she's still staring off into the direction the car left in. Nanako returns to where I'm waiting for her in the hallway. Hazuki-san will allow you to see her, but she doesn't want to talk about it. She doesn't want to talk about it. Yes, so try not asking her anything. Not yet, please. I got it. All I can do is agree. I don't want to burden her. I'd like to relieve her anxiety even slightly, but... Right here. Nanako takes me to a room in the hospitalization ward. Kyoko's inside, lying on the bed. Kyoko. I had heard that she was okay, but seeing her like this makes my heart ache. Kyoko looks over for a second, then averts her eyes. I silently bring a chair over to her bed and sit in it. I have to restrain myself. If I open my mouth now, I know I'll end up asking her what happened. I can't think of anything else to say except horribly cliched platitudes. Why are you here? Kyoko mutters. I wonder if we made the decision to, stay with Kyoko in that one, in the last video that this might not have happened. But then it's that would have been the right decision to make because it wouldn't have actually progressed the main plot of the game, and I don't know where it would lead us to, if it would get us actually a dead end or some kind of a bad end or something. What do you mean, why? Of course I'd come. Thankful that Kyoko said something, I gently stroke her hair. I told them not to tell you. Well, I guess it's true that I don't know how word got to me. Seriously. Kyoko brings her hand out from under the covers and grabs mine. Does it hurt? I've got painkillers, so I'm good now. It's a little hard to sit up, though. I see. Don't push yourself, okay? Yeah, I'm sorry. She squeezes my hand. No need to apologize. But I made you worry, didn't I? That's nothing you need to fret over. But Hazuki-chan! The door suddenly opens and Fuyumi flies in. Fuyumi-san? Why are we always being cock-blocked by this woman? I know nothing was obviously about to happen here, but anytime we have, some kind of intimate moment with Kyoko, it's Fuyumi's always just, opening the door and, interrupting the moment. The shop wasn't open, so I asked next door and they said you'd been stabbed. Fuyumi, who'd run over to the bed, now glances over at me. Is this the culprit? No. Why does everyone think that? Huh. I jumped to the wrong conclusion because you stabbed something else. Oh my god. Seriously, everyone. Then, was it them? Fuyumi bends over to Kyoko. No. Kyoko shakes her head and glances at me for a moment. Them. Does Fuyumi have some lead? But I can't ask her that now, in front of Kyoko. Hey, Kyoko. Huh? What? Kyoko flinches and looks over at me timidly. You thirsty? I pick up the pitcher next to her bed. No, I'm fine. Kyoko shakes her head. Well, she probably can't drink too much lying down anyway. Oh, that's right. Tokisaka-kun. Yeah? I can't open the shop for a while, so could you put a sign up saying it's closed? Yeah, I don't mind. The key's right there. Kyoko points to the desk next to her. Got it. I pick up the key on the desk. No snooping through Hazuki-chan's room, Kay. I won't. Oh, but you'll need some clothes. I'd like to ask Yukari-chan about that. I haven't told her anything yet. I see. Well, she does tend to worry. I think I'll be fine for a while, so just tell her when things calm down. I nod and head toward the door. Kaihara-san, may I have a word? I beckon Fuyumi over. Huh? But I want to help Hazuki-chan bathe and stuff. You can leave that to the nurses, okay? I'll be back later, Kyoko. Sure. Why do you want me? No, it couldn't be. Whatever you're thinking, you're probably wrong. I guess I can't really compare to Hazuki-chan volume-wise. Oh my god. What the heck is she implying? You said something earlier, didn't you? Something like, was it them? Yeah, you noticed? Of course I did. You seem to have some idea as to why she was attacked. Not exactly, but let's move away a little more. We step away from Kyoko's room to a deserted outpatient waiting room. Did you know Hazuki-chan was borrowing money? Fuyumi starts speaking quietly. She said something about taking out loans. Do you think that's it? I don't know, but I was the one who introduced her to the financing company. So if they got violent with her, I'd feel so bad. But that doesn't explain why she won't say anything about the culprit. Well, I figured she probably didn't want anyone to know she was in debt, but you knew. I guess. The two thugs who came to harass Kyoko at Moonworld the other day. Was this the work of that financing company? Then maybe she didn't want to get you involved, you know? You seem like you'd be reckless for the people you love. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to respond to this. Well? Fuyumi gets right in my face. Well, more importantly, could you give me the details on that financing company? Yes, I suppose so. Fuyumi backs up a step and plays with her hair like she's thinking about something. I told Masaki-san about this yesterday, but our new leaf garden is managed by a religious organization called the Blessed Congregation. This is news to me, but I don't think I should butt in yet, so I urge her to continue. The place I told Hazuki-chan about is also managed by them, but I didn't think they'd be so unreasonable about collecting the debt. Man, they have their hands in everything, don't they? The guys who came to the shop the other day to harass her didn't really look like members to me. They must have hired some people from outside the organization. Or, I suppose, the Blessed Congregation could be hiring thugs like that. Could you tell me the name of the company? Yes, I think it was... Fuyumi writes down the name in my notebook when I hand it to her. I should have Toji look into this later. I actually thought we were going to see what Masaki was up to. Okay, we're going back to him now, I think. After a few hours of wandering through the mountains, Masaki finally finds himself before a building that resembles what he's searching for. It didn't look that far on the map, but walking up the mountain slopes without any landmarks was harder than he was expecting, and it took quite some time to find it. The building before him appears to have once been a church, and a deteriorating cross is stuck to its roof. Naturally, there are no traces of anyone living here, nor is there any sort of atmosphere that would suggest this place has any clues to be discovered. It's worn down from weather and neglect, but there isn't any garbage or furniture sitting outside the building either. Figuring he should look inside too, Masaki opens the rusted door, careful of the barbed wire and splintered wood around him. Air blows in from the outside and dust whirls up from the floor. He steps in, covering his mouth with his hand, and the light shining in through the stained glass illuminates the dust inside. It looks like a chapel. There's nothing left inside, but it still has the atmosphere of one. There aren't any footprints beside Masaki's. He supposes no one else has been here since it closed. Yesterday, he heard from Toji about the group suicide that occurred here. He wanted to hear more details. He doesn't see anything that looks like a trace of that. He wonders if it occurred somewhere else. This was supposedly an orphanage, so some facilities resembling that should be nearby. Masaki decides to head further in. Avoiding broken glass and linoleum, he steps foot into the building that was the orphanage. Masaki was preparing himself for a gruesome scene, but all that awaits him is an abandoned building. Despite it being daytime, it's dark enough that Masaki wishes he'd brought a flashlight, but he should still look and see if he can find anything. Oh boy, what do we look for here? I guess first we should check the, it says the cabinet, but it looks like a dresser, it's not a cabinet. He pulls out a drawer from the dresser next to the wall. Something like a name tag is in the topmost drawer. He picks it up and dusts it off. It does indeed appear to be a name tag, and the name on it is Kuria Naori. Oh boy. Masaki remembers what the man himself told him on New Year's. He's in the Blessed Congregation to save the children. Was he here? In this orphanage, where there was a group suicide? And I mean, that's just a little bit suspicious, isn't it? It's just a little bit weird. Anything about the beds that's suspicious? There are beds in the room, still bent, still adorned with sheets darkened from dust. He lifts the mattresses up and finds nothing but wooden planks. Well, nothing there. Well, there's nothing else here, like, the window? The window is caked with dust and he's unable to see what's outside. Looks like it's been left alone for quite some time. Well, I guess there's really nothing else to see. He puts the name tag away. He'll probably have to go to Naori himself and ask him about it. Yeah, it's really the only clue we could find here, I guess. If he heads back now, it'll be nighttime by the time he gets there. Deciding tomorrow would probably be better. Masaki does a little more looking around. I return to the office and call Toji, asking her to look into the company. She had some loud complaints, but I think it'll be faster to have her look into it. I'll head to Moonworld tonight, but first, I'll go take care of something else. What else is there to take care of? I guess we're off to the station. I get off the train, walking out into Kichijoji Station. It's practically deserted compared to the bustle of Ueno or Shinjuku, but there's still some energy here. Students spill out from the station, and the nearby shopping district is pretty busy. Oh, Tokisaka-sensei. Aimu trots over when she sees me. Hey, Sato-san. No club activities today? Yes, so I went to Moonworld to relax a bit, but it was closed. It seems like she's both informing me that the shop's closed and trying to discern from my expression whether or not I know anything about it. Did something happen? Well, I haven't heard anything. Maybe she's in bed with a cold. Why is he lying about this? That's an awfully specific suggestion for someone who's uninformed. Aimu stares at my face. How sharp is this girl? She's sharp at times and then airheaded at other times. And my upperclassmen were acting sort of strange today. It's all in your head. Yukari probably realized that something had happened and Aimu picked up on that. You're hiding something, aren't you? Adults have a lot of things they have to hide. That's not what I'm asking, but I'll let you off the hook. Aimu sighs. You want to keep it a secret, right? Then I won't ask. What a good kid. But if I respond, it'll become clear that I'm hiding something, so I've got to be careful. Want me to treat you to something? No, thank you. If you'd like to bribe me, please let me accompany you on your investigations. That wasn't really my intent, actually. Man, she really wants to be our assistant. Moonworld without its mistress. I opened the door with the key she gave me. The bell on the door rings throughout the dark shop. I flip the switch on the wall, turning on the lights. There's no one inside. There are no signs of a struggle either. There's something a little weird about that. Kyoko was attacked here, but it's too clean. Well, this is her we're talking about, so there's a possibility that she cleaned up while she was waiting for the ambulance. I can guess that from the fact that the rest of the doors are locked up tight. And if there was a stabbing here, it should be investigated as a crime scene. She must not have notified the police. I can see that. First of all, yeah, I should make a sign to hang up outside. I get out a piece of paper and a pen and write "closed temporarily due to circumstances" on it, sticking it on the entrance. That's all Kyoko asked me to do, but I can't stop here, of course. I'll look down at the floor now that the lights are on. It's hard to tell on the reddish-brown floor, but I see some bloodstains. Kyoko sure moved around a lot after being stabbed. They lead from around the door to the telephone, then back behind the counter. She must have been stabbed behind the counter. That's where there's the most blood. There's a clear mark, probably from her sandal when she tried to wipe it away. It's like she tried to dispose of the evidence herself. Well, guess I've got some work to do. I could get charged with destruction of evidence too, but I can't just leave things like this. I take off my coat, roll up my sleeves, and get a bucket and well-used cloth out of the back. Wouldn't want to leave stains, huh? With that excuse to myself, I start wiping up the blood on the floor with the wet cloth. I'm not sure why he would do that. Yeah, I mean, it is destruction of evidence. I don't know how that would help the police find, who actually stabbed her. Fuyumi sits in the living room, her head on the table and the lights off. There's a glass in her hand. A bottle of sake lies on the floor. She's never considered herself a strong drinker, but no matter how many glasses she has, all she gets are headaches and tears, never drunk. The paper crumpled up in her hand is wet with booze and tears. Some men from the congregation came to see Fuyumi after she returned from the hospital this evening. They gave her a bag filled with money and this note. She was informed there. Informed that Yukiko wouldn't be returning to this place. Fuyumi has always known this day would come. So she definitely knows more than she's letting on, but it was just too sudden. Was it a mistake to take her to their headquarters on New Year's? It's only been a week since then. She sets down her empty glass and spreads out the wrinkled paper. On it is written gratitude for all this time, and almost like a postscript, it asks her to accept some money as a reward. The banknotes stacked in front of her eyes. There are hundreds of freshly printed 5,000 yen bills. She doesn't even want to count them. She sweeps the bills off the table. They scatter around the room. I don't need this. The tears won't stop. She didn't raise that girl for this. Or is this her punishment for abandoning her own child? All Fuyumi can do is cry all through the night.